Championships for Skeleton, as he was tied for 25th place after the first heat. He is first off, a 5-0 start, started 5:02 in the first heat, and we'll expect new track records in this second heat. The day warms up, the track gets less cold. Still pretty cold ice. -7 is about as cold as you get anywhere in the season in Europe. Blake Enzie, with his first heat down this morning, will have just an extra little bit of information to try and work on to sort out this St. Moritz track. All 36 of our starters go in the second heat. They will all go in the third heat tomorrow morning as well. And then we'll cut the field to the fast 20 as we aim for the medals. Not a bad-looking run from Blake Enzie, 100.6 kilometers an hour, 62.5 miles an hour, and accelerating really fast now as you plunge down through the forest, over 70 miles an hour. Still in near silence. The wind noise whistling past the helmet will be the significant noise. 135.6, 84.5 miles an hour. Across the line, 108.53. He had a 109.13. So that's 0.6 quicker. So an improvement from him. And that will also be an improvement in the track as well. It is getting quicker. It continues to get quicker throughout the day. There's Eric Nielsen from Canada. Nielsen, a medalist in the teams competition back in the World Championships a few years ago. And medium, a little too high there for Blake Enzie. Need to be just a little lower in the middle of horseshoe this year. It's cut very differently.
That's better.
That is better. So he feels that was a nicer run. Now then, what about Axel Jung? Well, utter disappointment. I mean, a real gut-wrencher for Axel Jung. Just as he was coming over the brow here, and it's a long run start, the sled popped out of the grooves. So what can he do to retrench that? From 25th place, he's got nothing to lose. He could hang it all out here and have an absolutely superb run, but 4:92 start already. Mistakes in the first corner. Having a chop with the toes. So he's got a lead over Blake Enzie. It's not about Blake Enzie, it's about how far he can climb back up. At the moment, he is outside the top 20 after the first heat, so would not make a fourth run. And now everything will be to try and find more pace in the sled. It's going to be tough. It is going to be tough. Out of horseshoe. Nice looking run so far. 102 kilometers an hour, 63.4 miles an hour. That's a full mile an hour quicker than Blake Enzie. 114.4 Ks. Again, 1 mile an hour up on the Canadian. And this could be a new track record. Fastest run in the first heat is the new track record. Let's see what we've got. Across the line, 107.88 for Axel Jung. Well, the first heat was a 107.08 for Matt Weston. So even if that had been his first run, it would have still left him 0.8 back. That would have been about 4th place. In fact, 4th place, Jung Sung Gui, a 107.88, exactly that time in the first heat. But again, down into that first ding, Axel doing a lot of steering, and in this short straight, a lot more steering as well. And down through the forest, a couple too many taps, and this is not going to be a day to remember for Axel. It was a good first run, though, for one of our rookies. This is the young Dane, Rasmus Johansson. His first World Championships. He has a 100th of a second advantage over the tie between Axel Jung and Blake Enzie from the first heat. Just 20 years old, raced here in the Youth Olympic Games in 2020 and the Junior Worlds in 21. Again, having to steer hard in that right-hand groove into the first corner. 5:01, so losing 900s to Axel Jung at the start. But look how much calmer he is. No toes, no legs sticking out. And that is going to help negate that starting deficit. Run down into Snake 1 and 2, then heading down into Sunny. He is losing time to Axel Jung. Axel finding more pace in the second heat. And at the moment, he's losing ground to Blake Ensley as well. He was only 100th up, but he made his speed further down on the track. Second best speed, so he may not be overhauling Axel Jung. Let's see if he can get to Blake Ensley. Let's see if he can hang on to at least second place. Still second best speed, but the gap is growing. So he's going to drop a couple of spots here. Blake Ensley and Axel Jung will both go past him. Still second best speed. Not sure he's got enough to bring back half a second before the line. He doesn't. Third best run, 1:08.61. But again, the youngster has a Danish hat being held in. And the German team helping out with the young Dane. So a number of sliders here who first came to prominence in the Youth Olympic Games in 2020 here in Samoritz. And you see the sled just getting kicked a little sideways as it comes out of the start spurt. And that was happening in the first heat. There's not been much time for track preparation between the two heats, but you would rather have hoped that that would have been just eased in a little neater. Our fourth starter in Heat 2 of the Men's Skeleton World Championships, Alexander Schlindner of Austria. And with a 100th in hand advantage over our current leader, Axel Jung. He was tied with Rasmus Johansson of Denmark. They were joint 23rd. Axel Jung and Blake Ensley, who are currently first and second, were joint 25th. So Alexander Schlindner, first World Cup season for the Austrian this year. Just losing a 10th at the start to Axel, a 5:03 compared to a 4:93. But again, tidy at the top of the track where Axel was having to wrestle the sled. I think maybe Axel has just trimmed his sled out for maximum speed and living with it early on. Nice form from Alexander Schlindner out to Horseshoe. Now picking up speed. Second best, but a little bump there in the forest is not going to help. Up to second place on the splits. So he's not gaining ground on Axel Jung, but he is putting some space between himself and Blake Ensley and Rasmus Johansson. Third best speed. Should be in second place at the line. And he is, 1:08.41. And again, a 1:09.12 in the first heat, so that's an improvement of half a second. Some of that will be just dialing himself into the track today. He's now done 8 trips down the track this year, rather than 6 as he had done this morning before we started. So he'll just be a bit better dialed in, and the track will reward you with a little bit more speed. Great view of the start there, and see how many of the athletes move the sled backwards and forwards just as they're getting ready to go. When we get into the teams competition, any movement of the sled will be judged a full start. So the athletes are going to have to be extremely careful with that. All right, well, day one done for Alexander Schlindner. He is on the fringes of the top 20. Next up is Andrew Blaser of the USA. 300ths faster than Schlindner in the first heat. 400ths faster than Axel Jung. 4:94, that's a good start. Only a couple of hundreds slower than Axel. So he's right in the frame and has a slender advantage. Nice, calm slide so far. And as he gets into wall, he's opening up that advantage nicely through wall. Down into snake 1 and 2. No skids on the way down to Sunny. Back down to 200s in front. Little late flop out of Nash into Dixon. Here we go, up to Horseshoe. Little high line, but he can use that to accelerate out. 700s back, only the third best speed. Little tap as he goes into Devil's Dyke. Andrew Blaser was right on the fringes of the top 20 after the first of our 4 heats. And they're all going to try and cram into the top 20 at the end of Heat 3 tomorrow morning. Fourth best speed at the bottom. He'll drop behind Axel Jung, but second place at the line. And Axel will move up the order, I think, a little bit further. 108.40 compared to a 109.09. So Andrew Blaser losing a little ground to Axel Jung. He certainly won't have been expecting to be ahead of Axel after the first heat. Coach Tuffy Latour going up to grab the sled. Little high, watch the toes. Just trying to mitigate that big height there. Came down, nice take on onto telephone. Little tap here in the forest.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Well, thanks for turning up, because without you, we don't have a broadcast. Without all of them, we don't have a broadcast. Axel Jung, the leader, after the first 5 sleds. Heat 2 of the Skeleton Worlds. Well, between Andrew Blaser and his teammate, Austin Florian, was one of our rookies, Dan Barefoot. First major league appearance for the American. And a great first start off a 5:05 getaway. He had a good first slide to be in 21st place, right on the cusp of the top 20. Loving the helmet, just not panicking too much about those movements early on. Right, you're covering a couple of extra meters of ice, but don't try and work too hard to stop that meandering. Heading down into Sunny, dropping a little bit of pace though. It was a really good first ever run on TV. Big Q-type right up by the woodwork. Thunders down into telephone. Oh, and it's all just coming unraveled a little. 6th best speed. He is only our 6th slider on the ice. So this is much more of a new sliders run than his first one was for Dan Barefoot. Coming down into Martineau and Portago, the last couple of corners, tap on the inside between them. That's not the run he needed, 109.73. That is 3/4 of a second nearly slower than his first heat was. He had a 109.06, so that's going to drop him a long way from the top 20. Well, you win some, you lose some. He had a really good first heat. And the second one coming unstitched. Big height in horseshoe and late as well. He didn't panic, didn't steer too hard there, but took the big hit going down into telephone. Jean-Jacques Bouffe for Liechtenstein, one of a pair of sliding brothers who are here this weekend. There are more. There are at least 3 that are currently competing in IBSF races from the Bouffe family. Jean-Jacques, 300s behind brother Vincent. Jean-Jacques slides for Liechtenstein, Vincent for Switzerland. .528 getaway. He started 5:22 in the first heat. He was in 20th place after the first run. And again, making the most of his knowledge of this track. He is a Swiss. Lives in Graubünden, this canton of Switzerland. Big sliding family. Races on the Cresta as well as on the Olympia Bob run here. Oh, big steer off horseshoe. I'm afraid, like Dan Barefoot, the second run is not the charm that the first one was for Jean-Jacques Bouffe. 6 at the start, he's bringing it back, or he was, but only 6th best speed. He is going to drop a handful of places here. Axel Jung remains in the leader's box. Not that he could care much about that at the moment, because this is not where he wanted to be. Jean-Jacques Bouffe, not where he wanted to be either. 108.93, so he comes back in front of Dan Barefoot. He had a 108.87 in the first heat, and you do not want to be going slower as the track speeds up. So Jean-Jacques Bouffe into the highly glamorous foam that slows the sliders, because when you come across the line here, you're still doing north of 80 miles an hour, and shoes do not last long if you start dragging them on sub-zero ice at that speed. Big steer to come off horseshoe. You can see he's actually dropping like a stone there. And here's the hit on the wall. And don't think you're not going to be black and blue from that. Not the second heat he wanted. Well, let's see what his younger brother can do. Vincent, again, first major race for him. Has knowledge of the track. And a tiny advantage of 300s over Jean-Jacques. And that's what the battle is here. The battle's possibly not with Axel Jung, although every slider that comes down now does have a slightly bigger advantage over the German from the first heat. But that's gone away before he gets down into Snake. Now the question is everybody going to drop behind Axel Jung, and when does that stop? For Vincent, it's the battle with Jean-Jacques that will be uppermost, and also trying to stay in the top 20. At the moment, fourth on the splits. Home ice, of course, for the Swiss sliders. Home World Championships. Maybe that just adds a little bit of pressure then when you've done well in the first heat. Okay, I really must try and do well again. Home ice and all of that. Home expectations, not a bad looking run so far. Just not quite as quick as he was in that first heat. And across the line, he is still ahead of Jean-Jacques, but the gap has gone down from 300s to 200s of a second. And he has dropped 5 spots as well into 6th position. So behind Andrew Blaser, Alexander Schlintner, Blake Enzi and Rasmus Johansson. Well, 3 of those 4 have more experience overall than Vincent's. Maybe not of this track. Started sliding in January 2021, so this is his 2nd year on ice. He's going to be fun to have around. And leads his older brother by 200s, so that'll do. Next up, Austin Florian, 18th after the first of our 4 heats. And his advantage is 3100s over Axel Jung. American slider in the first heat. And that's despite early ice, 5th off. 486, that's a really good start. It's 490 in the first heat. Nice and quiet now. Heart pounding in your chest, blood rushing, trying to calm yourselves down. So that good start. Outstarting Axel Jung by 600s. So he's adding to his advantage into Sunny, half a second up. This is Austin Florian. I was a little surprised to see him down in 18th place. He did have very early ice, only 5th man on ice, and that doesn't help. Gap is coming down, only the 4th best speed. Still a nice looking run, bringing the speed back. 3300s ahead of Axel Jung. Nice run down the straight, not quite the top speed he needs. He will have the lead over Axel Jung at the line, but it's only 500s of a second, 108.14. Well, still 108.82 in the first heat. So that is a big improvement in terms of his performance on the second run from Austin Florian. It shows just how quick Axel Jung was. Axel Jung has moved up 8 spots. Again, quite a lot of height there. You're starting to go inverted as the track curves up towards the wall.
Hello. Hi, Erica. Love you.
Had a big group of friends and family supporting him in Lake Placid. Now feeling a little more normal without that huge crowd. Next up, Sammy Meyer for Austria. 19th fastest start, 17th fastest downtime. It was quite a neat and tidy looking run. Alex Auer behind him, whose younger brother Flo will be up in a couple of sleds time for Austria. So the 2 Austrians, Sammy Meyer and Florian Auer, separated by 3/10, but only 2 places. 5:03 getaway. Exactly what he started in the first heat. So loses ground at the start to Austin Florian. He had 500s in hand over the American from the first heat, but is now nearly a quarter second back because of that slower start. It's a quiet run so far. Just hear those toes tapping a couple of times. Big steers there again. A little more height than he wanted in Horseshoe. Tap as he's sweeping down from Shamrock to Devil's Dyke. Now got to really build the speed. Oh, a little bump there on the take-on. Third best speed, bringing it back to Austin Florian. Is he going to be able to close on the American? Third best speed, not sure he's got enough. Won't be ahead of Axel Jung either. Third at the line, third at the line. 108.25, again, found half a second. So, Austin Florian leads, Sami Meyer in third spot, losing a couple of places in the second heat. Just too much height in the Horseshoe.
10 seconds.
And sweeping out of Shamrock into Devil's Dyke. Just a little skid on the take-on.
Morgen geht's weiter.
Austin Florian leading from Axel Jung and Sami Meyer after our first 10 sleds. Vladislav Heraskevich in 16th place after the first of 4 heats in the Skeleton World Championships. The Ukrainian slider. Let's see what he's got here. 5.06 start. Just trying to be as quiet on the sled as possible, not dropping toes. See him just moving his legs a little just to try and correct the sled as it starts to try and break into a skid. Losing ground early on to the USA's Austin Florian, our current leader. Vladislav, start draw number 12, Austin Florian start draw number 5. So there was a little bit of improvement in the ice between them. Vlad now closing the gap back down to just a 10th behind. Second best speed. So that's quicker than Austin Florian as he comes down through the trees. He draws level. Now he starts to pull back in front. 114.8 kilometers an hour. So top speed all the way down here, 85.8. 138.1 kilometers an hour. Across the line, Vladislav Heraskevich takes the lead, 108.12. There's his dad, Mikhail. So a 108.50 in the first heat. He's found 38 hundredths of a second of an improvement. Vladislav Heraskevich will be at least in 16th place overnight, but again, out of that start groove, everybody having to steer hard to avoid a little dink up into the first turn. Florian of Austria. Jeff Payne there holding the sled. 300s in hand over our current leader, Vladislav Heraskevich. We're going 25 down to 1, and then the remainder of the field after that. 5.07 start. So it's a good start again from Florian Auer. 5.07 in the first heat, 5.07 in the second. Trying to keep as quiet as he can on the sled. Tiny advantage over Vladislav Heraskevich. And the Ukrainian slider found big speed at the bottom. Sami drops behind, going into Sunny. Through Nash and Dixon, named after the Bobsleigh club members here who won Olympic gold in 1964 for Great Britain. Hovering around the lead, best speed in the forest for Sami Meyer. But he had a couple of bumps, and that's the speed gone away. 200s in it. Haraskevich had the best speed of all down at the bottom of the track. He's close, but he's not close enough. He is going to slip behind. He'll be second at the line. Vladislav Haraskevich picks up one place at least. 1:08.31. There's Vlad down in the sunshine at the finish dock. So only finding 1600ths of an improvement, Austin Florinau, rather. He had a good run going down to Horseshoe. Came off Horseshoe, a little bit of a skid, but then a couple of taps in the forest. This one, I think, really took some speed away. So slipping a spot, still in the top 20 overnight. Felix Kaisinger for Germany, former junior world champion. And as ever, the caged tiger on the line, pacing up and down, just so full of excitement and explosive power. Started only 4.95 in the first heat, and again, he slips again. The first couple of steps, the spike's not getting good purchase on the ice. And a big hit on the first corner, 4.81. Well, that matches the start of Matt Weston. But he didn't have a great run through the first turn. Big start, though, to put him ahead of Vladislav Haraskevich by 0.3, and that now goes out to 0.4. That start velocity continues to ride with him until he starts to skid it and hit it away. 3.800ths. So that skid down out of Snake into Sunny has taken some of the speed away. Out to Nash and Dixon, heading down towards Horseshoe. Nice run from Horseshoe to Telephone, and that will add speed. Oh, not good into Devil's Dyke. A big hit on the wall. Again, I was going to say, if he's got top 6 speed, he'll be doing well. He has got top 6 speed, but only just. The gap will come way down. It was out to 0.4. He'll be lucky if he's in front, even by hundreds at the line. Only the 6th best speed. How close is it? 800ths. So he holds his place, but only just. That was a run that had so much more promise. And he could not control the speed early on. And he could not control the speed down in the forest either. Shamrock Devil's Dyke has seen a lot of speed come off a lot of sleds. Well, watch the first couple of steps. Yep, skid. That first driving step off the block. Spikes did not purchase. So he lost momentum there. And again here, out of Shamrock, hard hit on the wall, and that puts him a little late onto Devil's Dyke. He has to work harder there. Takes even more speed out of the sled. Heading towards the top 12 in our first heat. This is Basil Sieber, the top Swiss in the field. Basil in 13th place. Really nice looking first run. 5.10, not the world's fastest start. It's quicker than his first, which is a 5.15. And now, after one good run, he needs to just relax into this. Not worry what everybody else is starting, because the start here plays a smaller part of the overall result than it would do at almost any other track. In fact, any other track, full stop. Here it's so much about where you can make speed on the sled. And he is holding his deficit to 3.700ths. Now he needs to find some speed. Oh, only 8th fastest though, down through the forest. The gap's come down from 37 to 2.800ths. But it's out again. So he is going to drop down the order as well. He's going the wrong way down. He's found a snake, not a ladder. 3rd best speed at the bottom. He's going to lose 3, maybe 4 spots at the line. Yeah, 3 spots back. So Felix Kaisinger in the leader's box. Often say when you see a slider in the leader's box for a couple of runs, okay, get that man a coat. Here, there's no messing about. It is still so cold. Still -7, -8 air temperature. Even standing in the sunshine, you're going to get very cold very fast in Lycra. Bobsleigh, you can see how inverted he gets there as he's hanging on late in horseshoe. And then the big hit on the wall just before telephone.
More normal.
Well, he may well get 2 more heats tomorrow. Depends on what he does first thing tomorrow morning. First of our Chinese athlete, Yin Cheng, that we get to in 12th place. And for him, it is 1700s to the top 10. Big starter, this man. 483 in the first heat. 481. That is equals second fastest start in the competition. The fastest start of the day was a 480 from Kim Ji-soo of Korea. So our push world champion right in there with the fastest. Yin Cheng had a very nice looking first heat. It wasn't just about the start. 26-year-old debutant in the World Championships. Not do another Worlds that feels quite like this for him. A little hit there again onto telephone. Was 3500s up, and that gap over Felix Kaisinger may come down now. Billy Schneider, the Chinese coach, the sled whisperer, not really working with the team anymore as he had done before. And they're losing speed. Yin Cheng losing speed all the way down. But he's still going to take the lead away from Kaisinger. He does, 107.96. And that is 34 hundredths faster than his first heat, so he found a third of a second. And again, it's all about building that experience. Has not had races here previously. A man who was 5th in the Olympic Games in February in 22. Again, watch the toe steer there. It's like when you're paddling a canoe, if you stick the oar down on the left-hand side, you turn left in a hurry. Same deal here. You're dragging that left-hand side, slowing it down. So Yin Cheng takes the lead with our fastest 11 sliders still to go, among whom immediately we get to his teammate Chen Wenhao. Chen, in his 2nd World Championships, he competed in Altenburg in 2020. Chen, 26 years of age. In Altenburg, finished 24th. He's looking for a big improvement here. 482, another very strong start from the Chinese slider, but just right up against the wall there. Did he drag the sled down a little? Didn't look like too much of a drama. Still has his advantage. 600s in hand over his teammate Yin. 700s from the first heat. It's now out to 1100s. The Chinese program continues to grow and build. Ooh, a long steer all the way through horseshoe. He is dragging the toe. He came in offline, and that is just murdered the speed. Only 9th fastest now. 2300s in front. Still ahead of teammate Yin. So Chen Wenhao, 4th best speed at the bottom. He's going to really jump away from his teammate here. 2300s up becomes 3200s at the bottom. That speed towards the end of the run, you cover those last few hundred meters very quickly indeed at 85 miles an hour. So 108.23 in the first heat, 107.71, found half a second. Interesting way of loading, sort of has his hand right on the edge of the sled there, and then wriggling his way into position down into the first corner. Nice second run from Chen Wenhao, and that might well move him up the order. So Chen Wenhao leads from Yin Cheng and Felix Kaisinger. We have had our first 11 sleds down and our top 10 from the first heat still to come. Lots more action to come in this second heat for the men's skeleton world championships. Of course, we have the women coming up. That starts at 13:30 local, 12:30 GMT this afternoon, and that will be heats 1 and 2 for the women. Then moving into Friday, the men are back on ice, 0900 local, 0800 GMT, and the women again at 13:30 to start their third and fourth heats. And again, everybody goes in heat 3, and the final heat, heat 4 of each competition, will be cut to the fastest 20. And then on Saturday, we begin bobsleigh, women, monobob in the morning, 2-man in the afternoon, the same deal on Sunday. But before that, it will be the skeleton mixed teams competition. And we have more than 20 nation teams in the competition. So that's going to be highly entertaining to see how that works out. 1 female slider, 1 male slider in each team. The females go first, the males second, and it's team by team by team. But for the first time, we are using a reaction start system. So they get a 5-second countdown of lights that illuminate to the slider, and then the time starts the minute the green light comes on, whether the slider leaves the block or not. So the speed of reaction and the speed of the start will be all part of it. The little logo you can just see disappearing out of shot, that's the Dracula Club, set up at the top of the track here by Playboy millionaire businessman Gunter Sachs, who was a keen cresta and bobsleigh slider in the 70s and 80s. His son Rolf still owns the Olympic Stadium at the bottom, or at the top of the track that held the curling. And there on the mountain opposite us, Moatis Miracle, one of the most glamorous locations in the valley.
The track is clear.
Continuing with the second heat of the men's skeleton world championships. Top 10 sliders from the first heat now in reverse order. Mattia Gaspari of Italy with a really strong first heat. Let's see if he can add to that. Only 19th at the start with a 5:03. He finds an extra 100, 5:02 in the second start. But despite the fact that he looked like he was working quite hard on the sled in the first heat, he had real speed at the bottom. Now the Italians starting to build their progress into the next Winter Olympic Games in Milan Cortina 2026. Mattia is from Cortina d'Ampezzo, as is his younger sister, who is a ski racer for the Italian team. And their coach now, Billy Snyder, the sled whisperer, bringing all his knowledge and technology to bear. From a 10th back at the start, he's now 2900s back on Chen Wenhao of China. And at the moment, best speed of all. Here we go. Looking as though he may drop a spot, but he's gone from 3/10ths back to a 10th back, and he will now burst into the lead. He does. 1:39.0, 86.4 miles an hour. Big speed from Mattia Gaspari, and across the line, 1:07.63. Well, again, half a second faster than his first heat, and he will be in the top 10 overnight. And that speed at the bottom may be enough to move him up the order as well. Well, that is a really strong start to the World Championships for Mattia Gaspari. Previous best in the singles was 9th. You saw him slip a little onto the sled there, so that will have just dragged it sideways in the grooves, taken a bit of speed of the start away, down on the run into the first corner. Medium-high line, maybe about as high as you can get away with there. But he's a happy bunny. Junior world champion this year is the ebullient Cedric Renner. Good morning, Jan van Nieuwenhuis. Yes, not necessarily like the German sliders you often find, but Cedric Renner in his first senior world championships, and he had a really good first run. Little dink on the wall, but a 5:02 start, exactly the same as Mattia Gaspari. He had 500s in hand over the Italian. He keeps that alive. And a nice, quiet run down into wall. Not too much drama, had to have a little steer to line himself up for snake 1 and snake 2. A little brush with the wall, maybe into Sunny. Through Nash and Dixon. To get a medium line. Oh, a little too much height. Big hit there as he came out of horseshoe. And oh, again a little offline. And there's the speed, all gone. Was 1400 up, he's going to be in the red. And that gap is going to grow. Now, Chen Wenhao in second is 1800s back. Yin Cheng in third for China, half a second back. I think he's going to be third at the line, bringing some speed back. That's not the second heat that he would have been hoping for. Third at the line, it is 107.93. It is an improvement on his first heat, but not as big an improvement as we saw. Mattia Gaspari has just gone down 3/10 quicker than that. And Cedric Renner only had 500s in hand, so he drops a quarter second behind Gaspari, into third behind Chen Wenhao. Yeah, a little too much and too late the height there. Look, the wall's just dropped away from him. He gets dumped down into telephone. The corner is right at the bottom of your screen. He just hits the wall before he even gets there. But great to have the junior world champion around. And he's going to be big fun when he makes it into their World Cup team. Well, here is our Olympic champion and double defending world champion, Christopher Groothaer. Now, Groothaer's never won on this track. He has been in the World Cup medals. In February last year, leading into the games, he took a bronze here. Christopher only in 8th place after the first heat. A 4.85 start, better than the 4.90 in the first heat. Wearing the red jersey of our world champion. The last man not called Christopher Groothaer to win a major championship on a skeleton sled was Martin Stukurz, the world champion in Whistler in 2019. That was Martin's 6th and final World Championship gold medal. And he's coaching here this weekend. Christopher Groothaer trying to get the line right. Again, little too much height. Only a tiniest tap, though. Oh, but out of telephone, it's all gone wrong. Big hit there from Shamrock into Devil's Dyke. And that's going to rob it. Yeah, there you go. From second to 14th best speed. So that 4,500s will be single digits, if anything, over Mattia Gaspari. The world champion misfiring badly on day one. Will he even hold on to a top 8 spot? No! Well, Mattia Gaspari 2/10 quicker on that one run. Christopher Groothaer shakes his head. The form he's had all season long has deserted him at just the wrong time. He is our points leader. He's got 2 wins, 3 silver medals so far this season in 6 starts. And this, it does not look like he's going to add a medal to his collection this week. Now, out of horseshoe, it all went wrong. The timing was off, and that big hit there into Devil's Dyke long before he got to the take-on of the corner. And that cost him so much speed. Mattia Gaspari leads as we get to our fastest 7 sliders, among whom Yan Wengang of China. Now, who's the very first man out of the start shed? The 25-year-old Olympic bronze medalist from Beijing, Dirk Matchens, shouting him out at the top. Little drift into the first corner, dragging the Toa fraction. 4.90's a decent start. Can't afford too much steering. Did not have much time in hand over Mattia Gaspari. 1300ths of a second. He's added to that with a quicker start, and he's still building on that. Ooh, I'm not sure I enjoyed Snake very much there. 3600ths. Not sure the gap's going to grow too much. Again, a little bit much of Nash and Dixon. Exeter Horseshoe could be critical. Keeps the speed on board. Okay, so he's not losing anything. He's got better speed, but again, the hit from Telephone into Shamrock. Second best speed. It wasn't a big hit. This is a really good looking run now for Yan Wengang. He survived most of the major dramas. Oh, tiny meander down the straight. Not the best speed, but look at his form. Martino to Portago, not the cleanest, only has a 10th. So he lost ground there to Mattia Gaspari. 107.63 for Mattia, 107.66 for Jan. And luckily for him and for his runners, on the foam as he gets to the rubber. That means he will be no worse than 7th place overnight. Just has a slender lead of a 10th over Mattia Gaspari. Half of his first heat advantage evaporated in the sunshine here in St. Moritz. Into our fastest 6 sliders. And the first of our Koreans, this is Kim Ji-soo. Fastest starter in the first heat with a 4.80. That is currently the start record. And the records at start and for the downtime are set anew every year. The track is absolutely handmade and different every year. So 4.80 becomes 4.78 start record. He is chasing the medals. And had a pretty nice looking first heat, but oh no, come back baby. Just tap dancing a little on these long, slow, flat straights. When you're on the sled, it starts to feel like you're never going to pick up speed in St. Moritz. You can hear the track announcer, you can hear the planes overhead, you can hear the crowd. Now you're starting to build as you come down to Horseshoe. All your focus on getting the right line. That's not bad. Oh, and a good exit. So he's gone a few hundreds back, but 3rd best speed. You can hear the chin on the ice. A couple of little tiny toe drags there as well. 2nd best speed. Bridge, leap, sacks. Good speed, not good enough. He's not going to hold his lead. He's going to drop behind Mattia Gaspari as well. Yang Wengang will be top 6 overnight. And he is down to 3rd place behind Gaspari. There's Jan in the leader's box. And Kim Ji-soo, a 107.82 slide. He had a 107.96 in the first heat. Did not find an awful lot more in that second run. Having to have 2 or 3 bites of the cherry with the toe to avoid a big hit here. And he still had a pretty big hit. And again, look at the tap dancing as the sled just meanders its way, trying to break into skids. Right, not the second heat, perhaps, that he was looking for. Yang Wengang leads with our fast 5 to go. First of 3 British sleds in the top 5, Craig Thompson. The last man to use this sled was not Craig, although it was in training, but in a race, it was Martins Ducours, his coach. It's the first ever time he's raced on this sled. He's had 6 trips in St. Moritz this year, 6 on this brand new sled. And he had a great first run, and that would have been such a confidence builder. These sleds, the athletes tell me, are so different from what they've been used to sliding on in the last few years. They react, they turn far more easily than the older sleds, their previous kit. And so Craig having to basically learn how to drive again and trying to figure out St. Moritz. In the lead now. 2100 up, starting to ease away from Yang Wengang. Oh, little hit there. And again, just steering a little more than the sled needs because he's just kind of using the old instincts. 2nd best speed, he's still got the lead. 2400's up. This is going to be a really nice run. Ahead of Yang Wengang, he's going to be top 5 overnight on a sled that he's never raced in his life. 107.43. That man, 107.43 for Craig. That man, Martins Ducours, the coach, was the last man to race this sled. In fact, it still says Team Latvia underneath. Well, what a first day on that sled for Craig. He said, I don't know what to expect. We'll just take what we get. Yeah, would have taken that this morning. Big height there in Horseshoe as well. And how did he get down into telephone? Looked pretty clean. Here from Shamrock to Devil's Dyke, a little nudge away. We've seen much worse. There's a very happy Craig Thompson. Fastest 4 sliders in the first heat still to go. Jung Seung-gui of Korea. 8/10 behind the leader after the first heat, and only 300s ahead of Craig Thompson. Started 485 on his first getaway. Let's see if he can find another couple of hundreds. Craig started 482, 479. That is a big, big start. 100th off the new start record of his teammate Kim Ji-soo, but having to do a bit of tap dancing on this long, flat straight. 1500s ahead of Craig Thompson. Sort of a couple of little looks at the line into wall. Through snake again, you can hear that little. That's the toes, just tiny little toe steers. Gaps down to a 10th. Nice run through Horseshoe, not big steering, and this is where they're all finding their speed. Only third best speed and more of a hit there into Devil's Dyke. He's going to be in the red. Only had a few hundreds. Oh, he's just clinging on in there. Speed's about the same as we saw from Craig Thompson. This is to be in the top 4 overnight. Second best speed. It's going to be very tight indeed. A little brush between Martineau and Portago. 700s. So he is in the top 4 overnight. Found a fraction more over Craig Thompson in that first run. Craig at 107.43. That's a 107.39 for Jung Seung-gui. And that is 49 hundredths better than his first heat. What do we see here at the start? Well, we see big speed. I was wondering if our boys in the replays were going to show us a slip at the start. It didn't look like it. That was a great view of the power that you need to start these sleds. Here, yeah, took a little bit of a hit there into Devil's Dyke. Not too damaging for his speed. Top 4 overnight, could be in a medal position overnight. 3 fastest sleds in the heat to go now. In third place after the first run was Great Britain's Marcus Wyatt. Led the World Cup standings at the Christmas break after a couple of good races in North America, including victory in Whistler to start his season. 482 the first start. Is he in the 70s? He is, 479, and look, a nice quiet run off the first corner as well. He's been on the new sled all season long, unlike teammate Craig Thompson, so he's starting to really feel it instinctively. 1700s ahead of Jung Seung-gui. He had 1100s from the first heat, so he's adding to that advantage. Keeping the toes up, keeping his form. Nice looking slide so far from Marcus Wyatt. Coming down to Horseshoe, maybe a little left, gets early height. Nice dismount, 2700s up, building the speed. Only third best in the forest. Nice run though into Devil's Dyke, and that will help keep that speed on board. Little tap there as he comes from tree into bridge and working hard through leap and sacks. He's going to have the lead at the line, was 2900s up. And across the line, he will be in the top 3 overnight by 100th of a second. Wow. Wow. Goodness me, that's a lot closer than you might have expected. But that work in those fast 4 right-handers, tree, bridge, leap and sacks, takes speed out of the sled, and there's no ice after that you can rebuild it from. But Marcus Wyatt in the top 3 overnight. You'll hear these fast 4 corners. You have to be absolutely on the money here. And you can see, look, the heels come up, he gets knocked away, big skid, and that's just sticking on the brakes. And there's his teammate Craig Thompson. Lots of smiles from the British boys. Top 2 sliders from the first heat to come. And for Amadeo Banyas, what is this doing to the 23-year-old's head? He is the absolute mercurial slider. Can be so on it and can just be so random sometimes as well. Great starter. Is the start record in danger? Not quite. Has a big hit on the first. Come on, he's having to work too hard. 490, so giving away 1100s to Marcus Wyatt. He was was 2,200s up. It's all gone. Banyas had a great run all the way down. It wasn't just start and ride it out. He had a really nice looking run. Only 900s back. And don't forget how much speed Marcus Wyatt lost at the bottom of the track. So if he's within a 10th, he could easily get back in front. 1100s. Ooh, only the 6th best speed. But Marcus hemorrhaged speed all the way down the bottom here. Let's listen. Tap and a scratch. 1500s back. What's the speed looking like? Oh, it's good. This could be very close at the line. Is he going to be in 2nd place overnight? Is he going to be ahead of Marcus Wyatt? He is. Wow. I'm going to have to go, bear with, I'm going to have to go back and have a look, because I'm thinking it might be rather a long time, and I'm going to curse him now, and he'll curse me as a result. Well, I have results going back to 1988 in St. Moritz, and there has not been a skeleton world championship medal in men's singles. There have been in the team competition. They've had a couple of medals out of the team's competition. But Amadeo Banyas will be at least 2nd overnight. Now, I don't know what that's going to do to his ability to chill and sleep. Well, the man who's been in that position several times already is our first heat leader, Matt Weston. 2nd fastest starter in the field, led by nearly half a second. He needs another epic run here. 4.80, another big start. Only a couple of hundreds away from the very quickest, and that's what puts him in the frame. But it wasn't the start, it's been the driving this year. He's won 3 gold medals already this year, including 2 in the last 2 weeks in Altenburg. 3/4 of his career wins have come this season. This, if he can lead overnight, will just give him a huge confidence boost. He's building his advantage, and like his first heat, it's just looking like the man who coaches him is doing the driving. Oh, a little hit there into Devil's Dyke. Best speed of all in the forest, though. And quicker again. Now, if he can tidy this up, he does, nice and tidy. This is Matt Weston, best speed of all, 86.5 miles an hour. Phenomenal speed in the bottom of the track, and a new track record, 106.88. Well, there is the Weston fan club, friends and family. His fiancee's here as well. There's more than a dozen friends and family have travelled out to the World Championships. And boy, what a morning Matt Weston has had. And there's the head of the performance unit, Natalie Dunman at British Skeleton. And she knows that all of the changes over the summer have made such a big difference to this programme. The team spirit has always been there. The speed and potential have been there. And now they're realising it. Matt Weston's Barmy Army celebrating. He leads by a second from Amadeo Banyas, the shock of the championship so far. Marcus Wyatt in 3rd place. We continue then from 27th place on down to 36. Lucas Defayette. This is where we get into most of our newcomers in the World Championships. The 25-year-old from La Plagne in his first World Championships. And he was getting on for 2 tenths behind the pair of sleds in front of him, Blake Enzi and Axel Jung, and he will be aiming to try and break into the top 20. Now, we're measuring him, obviously, against the leader, Matt Weston, but he will be measuring himself against the likes of Dan Barefoot and Jean-Jacques and Vincent Buff, who are at the tail of the field at the moment, against Rasmus Johansson, a fellow rookie, and against Blake Enzi. And right now on the splits, 27th at the start. He is out to 28th place, 26th place rather, so he is not picking up any positions at the moment. 25th speed at the bottom from Lucas de Fayet. And across the line, 26th run in 26th place as of now. So our field of 36 sliders, we have 14 World Cup debutants, World Championship debutants, I beg your pardon. We've already seen Yin Qing, Alexander Schlintner, Blake Enzie, Rasmus Johansson, and Dan Barefoot. And now Lucas de Fayet. So Lucas does not find an improvement on his rivals on that run. And again, a little rocky coming out of Horseshoe. You can see him bracing for impact there. He knew it was going to be a hard one. It's always tough on this track. You need kilometers on the ice, lots of experience. You see the pink jacket? That was Anna Fernstedt of the Czech Republic, watching Timon Drahanovsky of the Czech Republic. Raced here in the Youth Olympic Games in 2020, raced here in the Junior Worlds in 2021. Bronze medalist in this year's Under-20 Junior Worlds. What a little skate. 5:15 getaway for Timon. And Anna Fernstedt very much responsible for getting him into this sport. She's his cousin. And suggested that he might want to try it out. Did, and started the progress into the sport via the Youth Olympic Games, which were held here in St. Moritz in February 2020. So 2 years on, he's in the Senior World Championships, having done a Junior Worlds or two as well in that time. A young prospect for the Czech Republic. And it'll be fun to see him and cousin Anna sliding together, as I'm sure they will try and do in the teams mixed competition. Well, for him, it's all about experience. There's no pressure to perform here for this youngster. And again, he will probably have imagined coming in as a first-timer in the World Championships against all the experienced sliders that his Worlds will be over in 3 heats rather than 4. I'm sure he won't give up the chase overnight. But at the moment, just dropping a little bit more pace. Fellow rookie Lucas de Fayet in 26th place. Rookie Dan Barefoot in 27th for the USA. He slipped a little after the first heat. And Timon Drahanovsky, again, off that little first bump, the sled breaking into a skid, and he's trying hard not to steer, but trying hard not to let it meander from wall to wall. Great fun to meet him as he came in for his headshot the other day. Another one of our 14 rookies. Well, next up, not a rookie, Evan Neufeld, but renewing his World Cup driver's license this season after a couple of years away from the ice. Returning to St. Moritz, a 5-flat start, 4.99 in the second heat, and a much cleaner, quieter run down these long straightaways. Evan in 29th place after the first heat. And he will be definitely looking to try and find some more speed and move up into the top 20. Whatever, this is a great place to come sliding. He's certainly enjoying his time here. And as he said in the first heat, outstarted Blake Enzie, and that's what it's all about. If you can outdrive him as well, that would certainly be a good target. Blake in 22nd place. Right now, though, Evan Neufeld starting to overhaul Timon Drahanovsky. Let's see if he can move up a couple of places. Only the 28th best speed. I've been hoping for more than that, but you can hear from the effects mics on the cameras that there's been a lot of steering going on down the run. Trying to hold the form. Oh, just eases away from the wall there and across the line. 27th best run, so it moves him up a spot ahead of Timon Drahanovsky. Just trying to get on the brakes into the slow down zone. It's not too much of a dismount when he hits the foam. Big skid there. And as the sled breaks into that slide, it just takes a little bit more speed off, and then you have to work harder to try and get it back online. And again in horseshoe, maybe a little higher than he would have been hoping for. Then has to steer it off and gets the bit of the hit there into telephone. Save that for tomorrow. So Colin Freeling of Belgium is our next slider. He was 30th in the field of 36, another one of our 14 newcomers. Colin, just 20 years old, one of the youngest, raced here in the Youth Olympic Games in 2020 to 10th place. He was in the Junior Worlds in 2021 as well, raced last week in the European Championships in Altenburg, but has not yet been able to get himself a spot in the World Cup. I'm sure will come next year. So started 5:21. And again, still building his knowledge of sliding. And the more times you do this, sort of almost irrespective of the track, the more things you've encountered in your career, the more instinct you have to try and avoid it all happening the next time. And that plays off either on a track that almost never changes, the artificial tracks, or this one that is subtly different every year. Although most of our tracks have been subtly different every year, if you ask the athletes. 18th best speed. That's good news for Colin Freeling. Now, he may move up a spot or two here as well. Let's see, does he get close to Timon Drahanovski? Does he get close to Evan Neufeld? Does not quite move up. So Colin Freeling, 2 heats down. His first Senior World Championships appearance. And that second run, a 1:09.42 compared to a 1:02.22, so 0.8 of a second better. 5:21 second start, 5:17 in the first heat, so maybe he was just focused a little bit more on getting a smooth run into the first corner. Down here in the forest where you're doing 60 to 70 miles an hour, corner to corner.
Hi.
That's hard work. It is hard work. For Spain, Adrian Rodriguez, and again, a first time out here, 100, 200 meter sprint. You saw Ander Mirambel, the former Spanish slider. What's he done, like 10 World Championships, I think, Ander, in his career. And he was saying that he has the former speed record on this track with 139.99 kilometers an hour. We haven't quite got to that yet, but we may do as the day progresses. But a crucial thing in the last Olympic cycle and beyond, actually, for Ander has been to bring new Spanish athletes into the sport that he is so passionate about, and so impressed to see Adrian Rodriguez here and his teammate Anna, who'll be competing in the women's race, both representing Spain. It's been a few years since we've had a Spanish athlete at the top level in women's skeleton. Buenos dias to Maria Montejano, who was the last. And Adrian Rodriguez just loving the opportunity to slide at the highest level here. 5:09 start and a 1:09.18. There's Ander, 1:09.18. Adrian's first race actually was here. The Spanish Championships were held in San Moritz a couple of years ago. And getting a group together for training and then having an end of training camp championships. So he's got a little bit of experience on this track. Again, you see the elbow out. There's a lot of work going on there as the toes follow suit to try and get a big steer in.
Nice.
Hey, there are much worse places to come to early in the morning. Well, we've seen representation from all sorts of different nations. The only African nation in the World Champs is Ghana, a quasi-Frimpong. Originally from Ghana, via the Netherlands, and now Salt Lake City, where he lives with his wife and daughter. And representing the hopes and dreams of 1 billion people, 5:06, representing his continent and his country. And again, was not quite sure he was going to be able to come here to the World Championships. Lost a big slice of his sponsorship in the run-up to the Worlds. Very unfortunately for him, but has come anyway. Spent a lot of time with the USA's Zach Lund, who's based in Salt Lake City, helping him with coaching. Over the last couple of seasons, the Russian team have sort of put their arm around him. He spent a fair time before the COVID outbreak in Sochi, training on that track as well. This is his second World Championship appearance. Fourth World Championship appearance, actually, and an Olympian back in 2018 in Pyeongchang as well. Missed the cut for 2022, very disappointingly. But Quasi, 5:06 at the start. His first heat was a 1:10.84, and that is a 1:11.05, going the wrong way, I'm afraid. Getting a little bit of help there from Joe Cicchini. Nielsen runs up to help with the sled. A lot of skeleton athletes tend to apply their own trade as single operators, and so the bigger teams often, a lot of them will have come from a similar background early on in their careers, and they tend to help out a lot. Hard dismount off.
Thank you everybody for watching.
Horseshoe.
It's an honor to be here. Appreciate it.
It's always great to have him around. A Quasi Frimpong for Ghana. 4 to go to round out day one of the men's skeleton competition here in St. Moritz. And Brandon Doyle, he was telling me yesterday that a week ago he was not expecting to be here, coming to represent Ireland anyway. Only half a dozen runs on the track in training, same as everybody else. It's been a while since he's been here. A 5:05 start. Again, as in the first heat, lots of trouble with control on these long, slow, flat straights that can be the real graveyard of time. Into wall, and then a longer run than normal down into snake 1 and snake 2. Out of sunny corner. Down through Nash and Dixon. Little tap between Nash and Dixon. Little chink to the head to try and get the line right for Horseshoe. Trying to work the sled on the way down through Telephone and Shamrock. First round for Brendan. Former Dublin policeman, a 1:10.86. He was a couple of hundreds behind a Quasi Frimpong. And where is he going to be here? At the moment, looks as though he's actually going to overhaul the Ghanaian slider, and across the line he does. 32nd spot, so he squeezes ahead of a Quasi. A 1:10.36 compared to 1:10.86, so he's found half a second in that one run. That's a big improvement there for Brendan Doyle. And a little bit more data goes into the banks. That's added a third more trips down this track today for his season. 6 in training, and now another 2. Again, there, out of that first little dink, the sled breaking into a skid, and he's struggling to hang on to it. Again, you can see when the runners come towards you in slow motion, they're not flat like ice skates, they are bowed like the bottom of a rocking chair, so the contact patch is tiny. Now then, 2 to go, Peter McCready's, 3 to go, Peter McCready's for Australia. Ooh, drifting down into the first turn off a 5:27 start. 5:23 in the first heat. Made his World Cup debut in Park City, Utah in December. First race at the senior level. And Peter, a World Cup debutant, a World Championship debutant as well this season, 31 years of age. Again, busy feet, just trying to control the sled's yaw all the way down. Especially when you start to accelerate out of Horseshoe, you go from 40 and 50 miles an hour to 60 and 70 and 80 and high 80s. Top speed is 86.5 miles an hour. Imagine that on ice in a car, how dangerous that would feel. And then take away the studs, the winter tires, the brakes, and most of the control. Now, he's going to pick up a spot as well ahead of Akwasi Frimpong. He does, so he moves up a spot. So, a 1:10.62 compared to a 1:10.99. Finds 37 hundredths. And again, with less experience than some of our front runners, and without so much of a big coaching setup and video and so on to help the smaller nations, the single athletes, having to work hard for their living. 2 to go now. And first, or penultimate of our sliders, it's Jeff Bauer from Luxembourg. 4th World Championships for Bauer. His first was in Koenigsegg, Bavaria in 2017. Raced then in Whistler and in Altenburg in 2019 and 2021. So from Altenburg at the height of COVID to St. Moritz, where it seems almost back to normal. What a contrast. 5:34 getaway. Finds 600s compared to his first start. And a bit less skiddy as well, and that's good news. Just trying to settle himself now back into the middle of the sled. And as for whether you're first or 36 in the field, all you're trying to do with each heat is get a little better than you were before. Awful sunny there, I'm afraid, though, so that's going to cost him pace. Coming down to Horseshoe, he's not got stability either. Hit there on the wall into telephone. First run down was a 1:11.12. 35th sled. He's got slightly better speed. Hitting the wall, still 34th best speed, so not quite at the tail of the speed charts and across the line. 35th spot, a 1:11.26. There's Alex Auer, who's helping out with the coaching. 1:11.12 in the first heat, so he didn't find an improvement. Day one done, and he'll be looking to the third heat to try and find a little bit more pace in the sled. World Championship best result for him, 31st spot. So at the moment in 35th in this huge 36 sled field. Let's see if he can find a little bit of improvement and aim for a PB tomorrow. He's got to pick off 4 sleds, and that's not going to be easy. But then this is a very tough track this year.
Thanks for watching.
I mean, beautiful and still a spiritual place to be, but oh boy, it's hard work. Jonathan Yor is our final slider via Sydney, Australia, representing Malaysia, a former baseball player, or still a current baseball player, and supported by the Pyeongchang Legacy Foundation, which has been set up in the aftermath of Pyeongchang Games in 2018 to help promote sliding in Asian nations. And he is one of the results. The first time ever we've seen Malaysia represented in ice sliding at the senior level. Again, it's all part of that. If you don't see it, you can't be it. I can't imagine there are too many people in Malaysia that watch the Winter Olympic Games or any Olympic sliding and go, oh yeah, that's definitely something that we should be doing. And Jonathan is trying to change that mindset. Nice run through Horseshoe, and that is going to give him good speed. Little tap there into Devil's Dyke. Not the first, but he will be the last in this run to do so. Now then, 36th after first heat. His closest rival, Jeff Bauer, which is 2300s in front. He's got pretty good speed at the bottom as well, so he's going to move up at least 1 spot. And he moves up 2, jumps ahead of a Kwasi Frimpong, and he's only 100th behind Peter McCready's as well. So that's a really good second run from Jonathan Yaw. That'll make his day. So 1:10.27. First heat, 1:11.35. So just the 1.12 seconds faster. And that shows how one more run than you had previously done can make a big difference. Just starting to join those dots. And actually, a little heavy dismount out of Horseshoe, but got onto telephone.
Thank you so much for watching.
So, our first day of action in the Men's Skeleton World Championships is completed. All 36 sleds, easy for me to say, are down. And it is Great Britain's Matt Weston who has the lead, the man who's been absolutely on fire this season in the regular World Cup. Has got an absolutely storming day one under his belt. Well, here's how they stand. Amadeo Banyas, perhaps an equal big shock with Axel Jung popping the groove and being nowhere near the front, but Amadeo Banyas in second place. Marcus Wyatt in third, 100th ahead of Jung Seung Gui, and 800s ahead of Craig Thompson. That's a fascinating battle ahead of Yang Wengang in the top 6. Mattia Gaspari, 7th, 2 Italians in the top 7. I'm not sure they could have dreamed of that. He's just 200s ahead of Kim Ji-soo. The reigning world and Olympic champion, Christopher Groothair, nearly 2 seconds off the pace on day one, and only 700 in the top 10 ahead of Chen Wen Hao. Junior world champ Cedric Renner, well, it's possible he may end up being the best German finisher if he has a good third run and Groothair has a bit of a flaky one. And outside our top 20, which is Andrew Blaser on the bubble, by 400s ahead of Alexander Schlindner. The remaining 16 sleds, at least some of them, will be trying to make their way into the top 20. Everybody else has got a battle on their hands to find performance on this tricky St. Moritz track. Day one of the Men's Skeleton World Championships is done. The women start their activities this afternoon. That will be 13:30 local, 12:30 GMT. That is 07:30 Eastern. Join us for all the action. Until then, from the IBSF TV crew here in St. Moritz, I'm Martin Haven saying thank you for joining us. We'll see you this afternoon. Bye for now.
Miss McCall.